Hi, Holly.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. Where are you at today? It's not your normal background.
I know. I'm in my office.
Oh, man. That's no fun.
It's a little bit cloudy here. Normally I'm poolside usually just until about 9. Then I come into my office.
No, Lauren, we can't see you. Can you see us?
It says invite to broadcast.
He says he can see both of us. You have to go live, Lauren. We both clicked go live. Here, I'll invite you then.
I just did that. I just clicked that.
There he is.
I can go live. I just didn't. I guess you kick the show live when you go live. You have to be live for us to see each other, I guess. Hold on. Let me go.
No more secret backroom conversations then.
Damn it, dude. This is no more secret pre-show stuff. Okay. I started the Facebook Live for it, so we're good. And
we're live and early.
And we're live and early.
Happy Friday.
Hold on. Let's see if we can change over the screen then so that it gets correct. How are you guys this morning? Thank you.
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, Lauren, when I want you to do those calls, are you going to do them or you want me to do them?
You go ahead and do them.
I don't know how to do them.
Then
what she meant to say is, Lauren, you're going to calls.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, so we went live. On the screen that I'm live broadcasting, it says we're down to 45 seconds. It's going to be interesting if it turns on. Because we are live.
We are live, and there's 4 people in here. Who is the 4th?
Who's the 4th? Well, it should be my other screen.
None other than Robert Cole.
Is Robert in?
Yeah.
Let me go find those 2 links then, so I have them queued up.
Here, I can put them in the chat box.
Okay.
That's the first.
Well, if Robert's there, why isn't Robert?
I invited him to broadcast.
Apparently, he does not want to broadcast. Notice my low tech
structure. It's because of structure. He's like, oh man, they put structure in the show. I don't want a part of this. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
There was a little bit of latency for going on air, apparently.
Oh.
I don't know. So I could see myself and everything. I was going to ask Holly, are we recording on the air now, or?
Yeah, as soon as we go live, it starts recording.
Yeah, since you all came in as co-hosts, and you had the power to turn it on. I got the power.
I see. Oh, so I was going to start with the question for Holly of your with your slogan, "Training that sucks." Wow, how did you come up with that?
Hold on, wait. We have to start the show officially.
Did I read that right? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the pre-show conversation, Robert, not the show conversation. All right. Welcome to episode or show number 55 of This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. Yeah, low tech. Anyway, with me, as always, the ever-present and happy motley crew of co-hosts, Mr. Edward StOnge of Flip2, Mr. Robert Cole of Rock Cheetah, and a special treat, a special co-host of it all, Miss Holly Zoba from Signature Worldwide. Hi, Holly.
Not at my pool, in my office.
Oh, is that okay? That's what the background is. Okay. We're moving it up a little bit. We're trying to keep everyone happy with what they enjoy about our show. And so we're trying to put some structure to the first hour. At least we're trying the first hour to see if we can organize this correctly. We're going to do hi hellos right now. And then we're going to do about 25 minutes of news banter, which is the favorite portion of everybody's program, point of view of news topics that are up. We have some fun ones to chit chat about today. Then we're going to ask Ms. Holly to be the center of our attention. And we get to talk about what she does with Signature Worldwide, being that it's budget season and it's an all-important issue to discuss what gets included in budgets this time of year. We thought it would be great to have Holly talk a little bit about what she does and the value proposition of Signature Worldwide. After which we have an interesting tool or technique we want to chit-chat for a few minutes about. And then after that, it's grab bag if anybody wants to hang with us. And where we just talk about everything that we normally talk about.
Anything that comes to mind.
Anything that comes to mind. And we have a bag of those things, too, that comes into it. So we have a few of those as well. So we have happy chit-chats. Anything anybody wants to say before we delve into the world of POV news?
No? Okay. Good luck to us on trying to stay structured.
Exactly.
It is. I know. I
think
don't want to
there
put
might
too much
still-
structure because it'll kill it. I don't. I think if we try to follow the rules too much, it's not going to work very well. So, or not. We don't actually follow the rules very well. All right, Mr. Robert, you brought up, and Holly did too, of the recent episodes of Red Roof.
Yes.
Red Lion.
Red Lion.
Red Roof. Oh, I was reading another article.
Have you
Red
seen
Lion.
this?
Sorry, Red Lion. Thank you. Maybe I shouldn't be hosting this. I'll just sit back. Mr. Robert, please.
Let me
Please
grab
elaborate.
the. Well, Red Lion has taken quite the different approach from the Marriotts and Hiltons, who are very aggressively doing a book direct campaign with discounted rates offered to their frequent guests. They are now doing it through Expedia, so they're doing it through an intermediary, basically capitalizing on the gap that I believe they perceive. And is that Seth in the back? That's my
Yep.
assistant, and that's my assistant in the back, just adding credibility here. He's,
The snork in the background.
Seth, come on, there he is. Come say hi.
This is the rock cheetah.
Yes.
No, that's Seth.
It's a bit of an exaggeration, Robert.
Aw. What a cutie. What's his name?
There, Seth.
Seth.
Yes, he's
After
Seth
my my daughter named him, I believe, after some reality TV show or drama sort of person, probably some hot guy. I don't know. So, being a teenager, so yeah, I don't know how they named him. But back to Red Roof. Now you have me saying Red Lion. Yeah, so a completely different. Yeah, a completely different.
Sharpest tax.
Yeah, completely different tack. So great idea. Worst idea ever. Discuss.
Listen, I actually think it's very clever on Expedia's part. I think when you look at, are you wondering why I say that, Holly?
yes.
Okay, so
I mean, no, I totally agree. It's clever on Expedia's part, it's just not Red Lions. I mean, it is on Red Lines, but it's not good for the industry.
here's the thing. I mean, what's Hilton and Marriott spending trying to market all of this? Where I kind of look at it again as it's a cost of distribution versus direct spend, right? So if they spend less than Marriott and Hilton does, and IHG and whoever else has jumped on that bandwagon, then Red Lion spends, and Red Lion boards the same amount of people to their loyalty program. It's just an alternative means, except they're not spending up front, they're spending on the back end, and they're getting room nights with the spend.
Right.
But where I think it's clever is Expedia knows that the hotels, even the most sophisticated of them, are not going to be able to permanently win that customer.
Mhm.
And Expedia is going to get a large amount of them still booking through Expedia. So maybe Expedia cuts, and it'd be really interesting if we could ever get the data after this experiment happens. But I'm willing to bet Red Lion successfully keeps 10% of them away from Expedia, max.
Yeah, well, and they move up in the sort order too, right?
Right.
So, at the same time, so they will get share shifted, and certainly with some of the hotel groups that I've spoken with, some of the smaller groups, that has been their strategy to go, not necessarily to offer discounts through Expedia. I think that's the extra one that Red Lion. Oh my God, I've never made that combination before. Thank you, Lauren. I will be doing that now for the rest.
My work here is done. I'm done. Bye. Thank you.
Exactly.
No, and listen, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, I don't know how much the discount is, but let's say it's an extra few bucks a night.
Yeah.
$5-6 a night off of what they're normally doing on Expedia. That's purely attributed to the cost of just acquiring the customer in an easier way. So now they have the customer's contact information directly and can try as they might to win as many of them as they can. So I'm sure the Red Lion, now I'm being cautious. I'm sure Red Lion's looking at it as they want to make sure they get second and third bookings direct at X percentage of the total amount received, and that makes this a measured success. And I'm sure Expedia is looking at it going, yeah, it's not going to be a lot. Because still the bottom line is there are people who book with Expedia because of what Expedia's value proposition is to them. And, unless the hotels start selling packages like airlines and, all of that, there's a certain group that no matter what you do, they're going to go for the easy booking experience. And then, there's the rest that are up for grabs. So it'll be interesting to see in the up for grabs category of people what this does for Red Lion.
Right, and at least all the stats that I've seen, there is a very large group of people who are brand agnostic. They're looking for the best hotel at the best price in the most convenient location, and that's driving their decisions, as opposed to playing a game where they can get points and that sort of thing. The game, and especially when they're spending their own discretionary leisure dollars, that's the big differentiator. Those are the guys who generally go to the online travel agencies, because when it's controlled corporate spend, Hilton or Marriott is the preferred provider. The corporate travel department's booking things within policy, and they are converting all of those points to personal travel benefits. And it's gamification more than certainly more than loyalty is always my bottom line on this.
Yep.
And I still think the situation of the hotels discounting to their top guests is a ridiculously bad idea. And I've heard a little bit of feedback from some analysts who, stock analysts, who basically said first the REIT guys are seeing erosion in their ADR because of it, and they aren't seeing an uptick in business. So it's going to be very interesting how this plays out. I think the major hotel brands are saying we are seeing a shift of a greater share of direct bookings versus OTA bookings, but what is unclear at this point is that shift due to a restriction on the demand being invoked by the OTA.
That would actually be good news if that was the case, because that would mean the restricting their inventory on the OTA, the shift goes to them. I think it's more than that.
I mean the OTA restrict, basically, dimming them, pushing them down in the sort order. So yes, they are getting a lower share, but that is because of the OTA intentionally channeling the bookings off to another partner, which incidentally, for the smaller hotel groups, I would be willing to bet Red Lion pays Expedia more than Marriott does.
I guarantee you they do.
Right. So in that scenario, it's actually better business for Expedia if they can shift someone over to Red Lion and they stay, in Seattle, next door to the Marriott. Actually, in that case, they really are. There's a Red Lion and there's a Renaissance really close to each other. If they move one to the other, Expedia probably makes more money.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. Just quick question. Who here has stayed at a Red Lion?
I have. Numbers of times.
I'd have to think way back,
right.
Maybe
1 in 4. So maybe this is a good move for them to try to get their brand a bit wider reaching.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm probably going to offend multiple people when I say this. I said Mike. It sounds better.
Offend everyone.
This is like the polygamist version of Good Marriage.
This is the big love of hotel marketing.
Yeah, this is big love of hotel marketing. Okay, so Red Lion has decided that they will much rather be one of many wives to the world of Expedia than to be the one and only wife to the world of to their customers. They're hoping that by the partial attention that Expedia is not loyal to them in any capacity whatsoever. There's absolutely no unique value to Expedia for this relationship with Red Lion. It's simply a surrendering of saying, I'd much rather take a little bit of something than try to continue to be the only something to my client base or my guest base. And so I'm going to share data that I'll have to hope that I get some of. I'll have to go over and share attention that I hope I get some of. That I'm going to have to hopefully be, by doing this, I can't seem to get the attention myself, so I'll have to join a larger organization to get the attention to me. Is my feel of why that this is just a bad thing. Yes, maybe 1 out of 4 of us have done Red Lion or something, and they have a brand identity issue because they're homogenous with a lot of other brands. But
like
at the end of the day it just meant that there wasn't enough smart people to figure out their own solution, and they decided to do it with somebody else. So there, I offended lots of people.
Oh, man. See, that's the thing. You are making this so this is either right or wrong.
Yeah,
and
I
all
know
that it's not that. The bottom line is Red Lion doesn't have the footprint that these larger brands have. So they actually have less to lose in this scenario. And if Red Lion has a really strong CRM game, they will make a good amount of profit in this deal. Now, if they went into this thinking that they're going to be able to put the same amount of effort into these people that hotels generally put into people, then yeah, they're not gonna come out the other end of this. But hopefully they have a good CRM strategy for how to build a bond with the people they acquire through Expedia, because that's the only chance they're going to have to keep them. Right. And if they get smart and, think outside the box on even their gamification modeling, they may want to introduce ideas like, hey, at the point that you book with us direct next time, we're going to award you a tier status upgrade for a year. Gamify people into the system. What's it cost to give a tier status upgrade, especially if they're a low tier to the next tier up? It's not a lot of expense there, but you stand a better chance of getting these people to go to a third booking at that point.
Yep.
You bring up a very good statement about that. First off, I agree with you. I am trying to make it black or white, and it's not necessarily black or white. There are intrinsic values to it, but I do think it's not the best first choice that they should have done. I think that they're going to have to make a good out of the decision that's been made for them. But, you bring up about gamification for membership, and I always wondered why you don't, when somebody signs up, put them at a very good tier of membership relationship, and then they enjoy it and they're in jeopardy of losing it if they don't maintain it, rather than making them aspire to achieve a level of membership that they've yet to understand the value of. Like, and this is a small little case of this. There's a little pizza place down in South Florida.
I'll bet you technology. I mean, I'm just going to answer that. I'm willing to guarantee.
But you can sign anybody up to a certain level. You can give them medium level status as soon as they sign up. There's the example. The reason why I thought this was a smart thing was there's this little pizza place that just opened up in Fort Myers, and they're trying to get people to sign up to their membership. They realize the value of getting people connected to them. And so as soon as you sign up, they have 3 tiers of membership, and the top tier is you get a free pizza every month. You walk in, and you don't have to be there many other times. You get a free pizza. Now, it's not a big, huge pizza. It's a medium-sized pizza, whatever. It's a free pizza. And that's their top-tier membership, that if you have to have bought up a certain point to get that, to maintain that. So for the first year, you get the benefit of being their top tier. Likelihood is I'm going to try to make it in there a few times to keep getting my free pizza, to keep that membership so it doesn't go down to a lesser, I don't get the free pizza next year or something kind of thing. I just thought it was an interesting.
You're so sandbagged by the fact that you get one pizza a month. You're not going to be able to spend enough to keep the tier level anyways.
Right.
So they're gonna throw you out in the cold for a year while you're trying to madly spend enough to get back the love of that pizza place.
You know we're talking about pizza, right? We're talking about
they could just make good pizza and get the same.
This is Pavlov's perfect scenario for pizza, okay?
but Lauren, I think you made the case for why they don't do that. The higher tier is more expensive. The guest has not expressed or demonstrated a loyalty to earn that. So it's the classic, carrot, carrot
it is
stick sort of thing. So that's it. That's the carrot, right? That's always been the kind of traditional method of, spend more, spend a little bit more and get this, wouldn't that be good? So
Holly, you have this little.
So I have so many thoughts on the pizza thing. It's sort of like when I was young, my parents never gave me a curfew. They told me to come home when I was finished, because they felt like if I was going to the movies and my curfew was midnight, I could get in a lot of trouble between the end of the movie and midnight. So I always came home when I was finished, because I never wanted a curfew. Like I just thought that would be the worst thing in the world. I had no curfew. I came home when I was done. It's the same thing. When you're getting those pizzas, if the pizzas are good and they are of value to you, you're getting them free, you love it, you are afraid of the consequences of not having these free pizzas, so you're going to spend the money. I think it makes perfect sense, which is very different from what Red Lion has just done. I think Red Lion
I fear not having my free pizza.
Right.
There's an element.
I get what you're saying. It's just
in our world,
we do have to sometimes recap what we're saying here.
That's right.
You fear, though, in our world, and this is what I fear. This is why I fly extra when I don't want to. I fear losing my airline status, because, oh my gosh, then I don't get priority boarding. My baggage is going to be way in the back and I'm in the front, or it's going to, cost me a lot of extra time. Maybe not pizzas, but airline seats. But back to the Red Lion thing, it's a smart move for Red Lion, of course, because right now you have everybody battling the high distribution costs. So you have the big chains rewarding loyalty for booking direct. Redline sees this great opportunity to capture this as the OTAs are punishing them. But long term, I just think it's so harmful to the industry, because what we're trying to do is reduce distribution costs. I mean, I really think that's the goals of the big brands for doing this. And now the smaller brands can see, oh, we'll just go and pay higher distribution costs and capture some of those customers who are not loyal. I mean, that's the thing. I think the folks on Expedia are not loyal customers. So the chances of Redline, even with a brilliant CRM strategy, of actually capturing those people who have a propensity not to be very loyal.
So I disagree that Expedia's customers aren't loyal, because listen, I work in the industry and there are times that I have to use Expedia. And those times are when I'm going somewhere I've never been before. And I'm sorry, it's just, if I need to book a trip to somewhere I've never been before and I want to see my choices and I want to book it with airfare and I want to tie it all together, there are times that I'll use Expedia. And guess what? I rarely use Expedia more than once for a market. So once I feel like I know what's going on, I then, will book direct and I'll book my trip in pieces. But the bottom line is if you've never been somewhere before, I'm never going to call a travel agent. It's just never appealed to me. I did it once because I had to, and I didn't like it. And so not going to do that.
Wasn't the right travel agent.
I don't know. You know what? I think part of it was the only way. It was booking for a sandals vacation. And it was like, they make it obvious it's the best way to book with them. But the problem is you're forced to talk to this person. I know what I want in travel. I don't want to talk to you. Right. And maybe that's my generation or whatever. But I didn't like it. Nice enough person, but same thing. Like, I really don't want to talk to a realtor until I've figured out what neighborhood I want to live in.
But my suggestion to you, Ed, is go to wendyperrin.com. Go to her WOW list. If you're going someplace like Costa Rica or Belize or someplace you've never been before, and you talk to one of those agents, you can get some really, really great, spectacular insights. That sort of thing. Or the other side, kind of, and just kind of picking on a couple, friends. Stacy Small, who does Elite Travel Gal, on Twitter. If people want high-end vacations, she does an amazing job. She can get people upgrades at Four Seasons and Ritz. She's got connections all over the planet with her little network of people she's developed over years, and that's great. And so in that case, and again, it's very interesting for different people. Some love that, and some are just like, I'll do it myself, right?
This is what I'm pointing out when I say, though, we should be cautious on saying, people use Expedia one way or use travel agents one way. Mm-hmm. There are situations, and Google's done a great job of explaining this in their micro moments. Depending on why you're traveling, depending on where you're wanting to travel to and your comfort level with that, you will make different decisions than what your standard is. And so, yes, if I'm going to DC, I know exactly what I'm doing in DC. I can tell you what airline I'm going to fly. I can tell you which airport I'm going to fly into and one of 6 hotels that I'll stay at there, period. Easy. Yeah. But if I'm going somewhere completely new that I want to make sure I see all my choices, and guess what? Once you've seen your choices and you've made your decision, you're now at the point of transaction. And at point of transaction, it's easier to book on the OTA if you're booking everything. I mean, I'm just...
But you sort of have made my point, though, Ed, because I'm saying Red Lion is not creating loyal customers. When you might... What
if they get me through it?
What was that?
What if they get me through it? Part of the reasons I've never stayed at a Red Lion is I can't tell you where one is. So that means I have not gone to a city
I'll tell you,
they're in.
1823 L Street in Washington, D.C. It's the cutest place. But you should... but what you're saying is they're going to get you at that one city, maybe at a Red Lion. But they haven't created a loyal customer, because if you're going to another city, you're going back to Expedia.
Well,
you're not going to Red Lion.
Unless they do a good job of telling me what cities they're in.
Right. And the next time he sees a Red Lion, so he goes to Washington and goes, hey, here's a Red Lion. This is, hey, I tried it and it's great. Yeah, I had a great, and now I'll go to the one in Seattle. Now, if the one in Seattle is crap, for
then
whatever they are, then they'll lose it. But if it's a good one, then at least when he sees Red Lion on the list, he'll go, right now it's probably just a completely neutral sort of, never experienced it.
It's up
just
for grabs.
a name. Yeah. They're just one of a list.
For that next city?
Sure.
Not if I know there's a Red Lion there, because then.
Oh, come on.
What?
No. You go to cities and you know there are brands that you like there.
No.
And you're still going to Expedia.
No, because here's the thing. First of all, I don't trust most brands because very few brands that I've experienced have brand integrity. I mean, I have stayed in hotels that, and listen, it freaks me out. I mean, let's beckon back to my concern about the Tampa hotel that I booked that had a brand name that I'm very much aware of their, what their brand standards are. And yet their price point spooked me because it was so low that I kind of went, ooh, this may be a rough hotel or a rough neighborhood. So, I mean, I've not been a brand loyalist in the world of hotels. And I'm a situational loyalist with airlines, meaning I will not take a stopover to fly on my favorite airline.
Absolutely.
So, that's it. So I have a collection of airlines that I will fly with. And I have one airline that I will do everything I can to not fly with.
Spirit.
So, no, actually, Delta.
Really?
I don't fit in Spirit.
Delta.
I do not fit in my knees.
Delta,
my legs do not fit in Spirit.
Delta has ruined every trip I've ever taken with them.
Really?
Delay Airlines.
Yeah, like I've only airline I've ever lost luggage with. Only airline that actually ruined a vacation for me because it was a quick vacation and their plane needed maintenance and they made me sit in an airport for 15 hours, which made me miss one of the key things I was doing in the other city I was going to. So Delta's lost me for life. I avoid them. But with hotels, and maybe part of it's because I'm aware that there's differences in asset, even if they're flying the same flag.
Right.
And
you described a little bit of what Holiday Inn's problem had been when they lost their brand value and identity is the inconsistency because they allowed their tolerance to get so wide on their products that you couldn't trust the brand that you were going to walk into was going to have the same brand quality.
And believe it or not, part of the reason I'm not brand loyal is I come from an area where Holiday Inn was really bad at that, which was the Northeast, New England. That's where they committed the worst sins on their brand standards. And growing up, I was like, ew, Holiday Inns are gross. And whenever I heard Intercontinental became part of that, I was like, oh, I'm not going to stay at Intercontinentals then. They haven't been able to win me back as a consumer. And then, I've stayed at hotels that were flying a much lower flag than they should have been flying because the property was beautiful. And I've stayed at hotels that their flag, they should have it ripped from them and they should never be allowed to have it back. I've stayed at a Ritz-Carlton that I honestly thought a Courtyard was better than it. And it's supposed to be their best Ritz-Carlton. I mean... So,
but then some hotels are smart like that too. Is that when they have the option to downgrade their flag, like there was a Hilton that was running around that the market shifted on them and they couldn't maintain their the cost to maintain their Hilton flag was so high, and they moved it to a DoubleTree and it was a perfect fit. But if you walk in, you're like, oh, this is a DoubleTree, and it's like, well, it was a Hilton, but now it's flagged this way because that's the better brand value for where it's at in market. So,
but DoubleTree used to be a good brand too. Actually, before
I don't think it's really a bad brand.
It's a transitional brand.
Yeah, it's almost a lost. Where does it fit in the scheme? It's Sheraton's 4 Points. Where does that go?
Yeah, well, 4 Points was the catch-all for all the Sheratons that didn't meet brand standards, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Well, DoubleTree was Hilton
the hamper.
Curio before Curio. It was hey, you've got a property that doesn't meet any brand standards, and you're not going to be doing any type of renovation to it for a while. So here's a DoubleTree.
That's really post Hilton acquisition of it. Before that, DoubleTree was a decent brand. Yeah, they had chocolate chip cookies.
It's okay.
It was a good. Actually, no, guest quarters were all suites. I'm trying to think of
guest quarters was an all suites company, and DoubleTree bought them. I worked for guest quarters. That was my first
That's right.
job.
Yeah, DoubleTree went and bought. Yeah, that's where I was getting the connection of it. But,
okay.
Yeah,
and that's when they were great when they were quarters.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, those were a couple of really very, very good, solid brands. And Hilton really kind of neglected. The same thing, Hilton, I think, blew it with Embassy Suites. Embassy Suites is one of the great brand concepts, and Hilton has not developed it at all, which is just...
See, but I would say, like, back to the DoubleTree comment, though, I mean, Hilton has been so successful with DoubleTree that Marriott is now making Delta that type of brand for them. Yeah. So, I mean...
Oh no, for Hilton, no, Hilton's.
I think DoubleTree has been like a really successful tool and a path to building relationships with owners that maybe don't have Hiltons, or they just get the flag if the situation is they're not going to, do a renovation for 8 years. But there's nothing wrong with the property to the standards of whatever DoubleTree standards are. I mean, and they have standards. I've not stayed at a DoubleTree that I went, wow, this is a really bad hotel. So there's obviously, they're not just welcoming anyone in. But their brand identity is a bit fluid.
Well,
I mean, besides the cookie.
It's
fluid brand identities. What's a Sheraton? What's a Westin, right? I mean,
Westin's nicer than Sheraton. That's all I know.
Right. Yeah, but what are they? Yeah.
Well, the big thing about DoubleTree is that the cycle for refurbishment of FF&E is a longer cycle. It's an 18 to 24 month cycle of refurbishment requirement, where your other brand standards have a 12-month refurbishment requirement. So it allows you for a little better cost value for the brand. And going back to the Embassy statement, I think the slowdown in the Embassy value was the footprint requirement of building it to structure the requirement of it. And it was also a hard footprint to use other than room revenues, because you really had a hard time building conference and meeting space out in the footprint requirement. So until they started modifying the footprint requirement, it really had only specific market values. And so it only grew in certain markets. It didn't have that ability.
Yeah, because I mean, that interior courtyard design, like, that's just wasted footprint. Yeah. Like, everything above the first floor is a complete waste.
Yeah,
because you can't build anything now in this giant hollow section of this building.
And so you have to build,
and that's expensive. It's more expensive to build because you have to have structural supports now inside and outside, where before, if it was a solid floor, you may have a single span middle type. So you're paying money to develop this courtyard. I mean, that's probably why it's been a tough thing to sell.
But Embassy Suite, for Embassy Suites to keep necessarily having to have that courtyard structure, it's the same thing as Hyatt, right? With all the Hyatt Regencies, all the old atrium properties, right? If it was Atlanta or all Hyatt Regencies don't have to have atriums, right? They figured that out. It's expensive to heat and all that stuff. Well, they modified it. And it was fine. And it didn't damage
bad acoustics. And
also, the resale value from an asset ownership point of view, it's always going to be known for what the brand originally created it for. I mean, you walk in and it maybe doesn't say Embassy on the outside, but you knew it was an Embassy at some time in its life because, ta-da, footprint.
Or it was bright pink.
Hey, they did stand out. Hey, we have two.
But speaking back to Red Lion and to this thing with Expedia, I think it's up to Red Lion to do the right thing to make this something really good for them. And if they don't do something different, then this will be pretty bad for them and pretty good for Expedia.
Yep, I agree.
And the one thing going for Red Lion technologically, though, is they've worked very hard between Hebs and Serenata and Duetto and SHR and all those things to try to align and at least more tightly integrate all of their key systems. So
those are good vendors too. So I mean, they
are good vendors.
They've made this little cabal, which is, I think, doing really good things. At least in talking to Bill, they're doing some really good things and doing all that stuff right. Now the question is, can they really convert the disloyal, traditional disloyal Expedia buyer to a loyal Red Lion buyer? Maybe not, but I think they can introduce the brand and at least get the opportunity to get them into the top of the funnel where they weren't even getting them in the first place. And then you're right, it's up to them to really convert. Can they do that? I don't know, but
time will tell.
Interesting approach. And I think by them, saying we're going to give you a discount, that was, that's the consumer value proposition to go get it. That also is more support for Expedia to really help them do that. And their brand reach is going to get amplified by.
It was a great contrarian
3 or 4-fold.
I mean, it's going to go down no matter what, that it was a good contrarian play. Even if it wasn't a great end result, the actual move, I think, is just like, great, don't go with everyone else. Go the opposite way.
They should have thought of this. They actually are a client of Signatures. We work with their sales group, and I love their sales group. But we should get Bill on, I don't know his last name, on the show to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, if you know how to reach out to him, Holly, that'd be awesome. If you could somehow say, "Hey, we've been talking about you. Why don't you come join and talk about yourself?" Maybe.
Yeah.
Listen,
especially if they are doing something different. Listen, there's nothing wrong that we haven't all stated a red lion, because I haven't stated most brands. So, if he's offended by that, he's working in the wrong industry. But if they are doing something different, this is a great chance for them to show why potential owners of hotels should look at red line flags. Because if they are making this move and they did put a very aggressive strategy in to getting the most out of this move, then that's a really compelling reason to put a red line flag up.
You know what would be fun? I just thought of a fun visual. What would Max be saying in the room when he get told that they're going to make this decision? You know?
Oh yeah, that must have been. Yeah, Max probably wasn't on the side of voting that they should.
I'm gonna guess it wasn't
if he was asked.
I'm sure he probably thought so.
If you thought what I said may have been offending, you can only imagine Max and how long it would have taken to tell him too exactly what they were doing. Oh my gosh, that would have been something. We should get Max. Max, get on the show, man. Tell us your thoughts about Red Lion, man.
We'll see if Max fires Red Lion as a client.
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
Hey, we're right around that time that we wanted to switch over to Holly, but two topics that I just want to throw that we can either do in the grab bag afterwards, or we can maybe throw a quick one in now or not. One was, Mr. Robert Cole, you made a great contribution to a meta search article where it was B2C to C to B to B to B to B to B. Thank you so much.
Actually, that was a typo by Sean at T News. It was B to B to B to B to B to B. So
we can talk about it because it actually is meta on top of meta on top of meta. It's getting silly about it. But and the other part of it is, did anybody join the Travelclick State of the Industry webinar? No. They made an interesting statement that I thought we could talk about at some time. It's called destructive demand management. And it reminded me a lot of the old crash kits of, when you have a crisis at your hotel, how do you handle PR media and so forth. But they talked about things like, what was the rebound, or what was the impact on Paris with the terrorism? What was the impact on Brexit with London? What was the impact on Brussels in comparisons to short-term and long-term impacts? And what you should or could possibly consider on your budgeting considerations when there's no demand or lack demand or an inability to even service demand. I just thought it was an interesting perspective topic that they had in it. And they also referred to GDS in some lauded terms that it was actually growing to a 66% growth rate, which I thought was stunningly, massively, amazingly large for, yes, travel agents are coming back and stabilizing their own segment, but to think that GDS is actually expanding is scary. It seemed like a very leveraged or one-sided perspective conversation.
I'm getting a lot of trouble. I don't like Travelclick stats. I never have. And trust me, it's the Hotelligence was a Sabre product. It was my product. We developed it. And Travelclick really did not take that product, where it was given to Travelclick on a 50% revenue share, which was a stupid move by Sabre, and they never developed it and didn't use it the right thing. The basis of a lot of their data is not a consistent base. So they look at these shares, and they have really good GDS data, but they don't have good data from everywhere else. So they're it's this myopia, which is
well, they made a few statements like
a lot of their numbers.
Yeah. But I did enjoy their conversation about the term destructive demand management. I thought that was an interesting phraseology for what we are now faced as a reality of our economy, is that localized terrorism doesn't just create localized issues. It can create impact ripple issues on travel. So it was in that sense.
But Brexit now, interestingly, yes, it's been very, very bad for the UK hotels in terms of domestic and this is a gross generalization, but around the world, most hotels, let's say 75% of the business comes from their domestic market. 20% may come from neighboring country, and this is again gross generalization.
Except for what, Dubai?
And 5% may come internationally, right? I mean, that's that works somewhat in Japan, it works somewhat in the UK, it works somewhat in the US, and Dubai is certainly lots of differences on there. But when you look at that, yes, 75% of the UK market, bad. But now the UK is a prime. I think there's an article about C-Trip, right? They think Brexit's a huge opportunity for the Chinese market because now the UK is perceived as a value destination. It's a lot cheaper to go there, and same for you. US businesses picked up dramatically to the UK, so that's good. Unfortunately, that's only this small. Maybe it's 5 or 10% of their business versus 70%, which has gotten the wind knocked out of them. But yeah, there are certainly some segments that you can pick up when these things happen.
So we can throw that towards the last if we want to pick that back up at the end of the show. We want to jump over to volume.
Terrorism, Turkey, things like that. A little bit different.
Yeah, slightly.
I'm
different
interested to see what Zika's effect's going to have on Florida.
Yeah. Well, again, that's a whole nother. I'd love to think that we can chat about this at the end of it because there is a whole thing about how even the news is covering it. Knowing from that market, being intimate with that market, NBC is completely tied with the CVB down in Miami. They refuse to refer to South Beach as South Beach. They refer to Miami Beach. And anybody in the market space knows there's a distinction of South Beach because that's a marketing phrase versus Miami Beach, which is a geographic phrase. ABC has no qualms. They're not connected to the CVB as much, and they talk South Beach all the time, as ground zero for Zika. And so NBC's being courteous by not referring to it because it can have residual impacts on the value of the marketing efforts from CVB. But that's a whole,
But let's bring it back up at the end.
Let's because I think it'd be fun.
Let's stay
on track, man. Okay. Holly, hi, thank you for joining the show today. You're our special guest.
I really kind of prefer being in the little window, typing in my comments, being sarcastic and
snarky. No, you are the what is that accuracy calculator? You're that person that always the fact checker. You're the associate fact checker. No, Lord, that's not what they said.
I know. I'm very precise, and lack of precision drives me crazy. So I have to comment.
Oh God, good thing we don't work together then.
It drives people crazy. I have learned to curb it, but for some reason in this group, I feel free.
I'm permanently playing with hand grenades because that's about as accurate as I get.
Yeah, I'm like
Ed StOnge, the Donald Trump of flip tube.
I'm not mean though. Okay.
No. I still when I played back last week's notes about to write down some of the minute stuff of it. I listened to the section where I brought up the little sketch thing. And I was watching your face when I did, and it went from "Hi, happy to be here," like you gotta be effing kidding me. You went from happy end to no way.
I can't be held responsible for what my face does. I mean, I'm sorry.
It was funny. I was like, yeah, he did not like what I was talking about in any way, shape, or form, man. All right, Miss Holly Zoba with Signature Worldwide, please tell us a little bit about you and Signature Worldwide.
Well, and Ed will try to be very careful with his body language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know what I miss though are the little props. Like I really,
the little smiley hand,
the claps. Oh.
Yeah.
Now we have no clue how we're doing.
Yeah, right. I'll fill that in if you want. I'll give you a score. So I'm thinking about how I wanted to present in this particular format. Like a normal PowerPoint sales pitch probably wasn't going to cut it. So I decided to tell a little story. My personal history actually with Signature. And I think this is such a freakishly small world because in the conversation that we've had already this morning, guest quarters was brought up, which was the start to my hotel career. I went to work for guest quarters for beer money. I was in college and I needed money to buy beer. And so I went to work for their central reservations department a million years ago. And I used to stay out all night. My shift was Sunday morning. And I'd get in at like 4 a.m. Instead of going home, I'd go into the office and sleep on the president's sofa until my shift started at 7. So that was the start to my hotel career. And years later, I found out he always knew I was sleeping on his sofa. But those guys then left and started a company called Hospitality Partners. And I joined them when we had 2 hotels, or when they had 2 hotels, but they were the president and vice presidents of guest quarters. And when guest quarters was sold to DoubleTree, they left and started Hospitality Partners. So eventually I became their corporate director of sales and marketing. We had about 15 hotels in the DC area. And it was mostly management company deals. We had an equity partner who owned a bunch of the hotels, but mostly it was management companies. But the owners of Hospitality Partners ended up putting their money into one hotel. And it was called, at the time that they bought it, it was called the Hotel Anthony. And ironically, it was at 1823 L Street, which we ended up converting and calling it Lincoln Suites, and it was doing very badly. And so they asked me to come in and be the acting GM because I was the salesperson. The hotel needed revenue. So of course, let's put the salesperson in as the GM at that hotel.
Of course.
And I mean, it was flawed logic. I'd never been a GM before. There was so much that I didn't know, but I did it because why not? And that's where I first encountered Signature. I was a customer of Signatures. Oh. My boss, but sorry, let me digress one more time. That hotel, we changed the name to Lincoln Suites. And that hotel a year ago was taken over by Red Lion. And so that's the Red Lion hotel that I referenced. So it's just a very small world.
It's always 2 degrees of separation.
The guest quarters hotel where my intention was to be a spy. And so it was a year application with the CIA. So I needed a job for that year. They hired me as a front desk clerk at guest quarters in Alexandria. The director of sales for that hotel is a guy by the name of Bernie Murphy, who's now the VP of development for Davidson Hotels. The sales manager for that hotel is Jeff Dallas, who's now the SVP of development for Wyndham. It was the craziest little hotel. But anyway, so I'm the acting GM at Lincoln Suites. My boss comes to me and says, I was just at this is 1996. I'm borrowing a play from Robert Cole's Playbook. 1996. My boss came to me and said, I was just at our Hampton Inn and they did this training thing there called Signature. And I think you should look at it for your hotel. And I said, all right, fine. And so at the time, it was strictly a reservations training. And I looked at it and I thought, all right, I'll give it a shot. We brought him in. And I attended the training. It was a full-day training class. And the focus of the training was just how to make better reservations, how to ask better questions, how to sell the benefits of your hotel instead of discounting. And so in the opening session, I'm listening to it thinking, well, this is kind of a waste of time. I'm the corporate director of sales for the company. My team that I have, hand selected to put in place here are smart people. They know that you have to sell the hotel. So about an hour and a half into the session, the trainer says, let's listen to some calls that I made on your hotel prior to me coming here. And I thought, great. Yeah, no, I was arrogant enough to think, outstanding, I have this great team. Wow, they were awful. My people were very friendly, but they quoted a rate like the whole rest of the world. They said, what's your rate? $89, or I don't know what it was at the time. Okay, thanks, and let the person hang up. And that was the extent of the sales conversation. So that got everybody's attention, certainly including mine. And so we spent the rest of the day talking about how we would handle these calls differently in the future. And that's the crux of what we do. So at the end of the day, Signature leaves. We're all really excited. We're going to do a great job. Next day comes, and this is also part of my learning curve. I was the acting GM. I didn't answer the phones very often, but I thought when I did, I didn't have to exactly use the Signature skills because my team would understand. I don't do this all the time. They needed to do it, but I didn't because I didn't do it all the time. So, I answered the calls and I would use some of the skills. And so a month later, as part of the Signature program, once they come in and train, then they do these mystery shop calls. They call and record and score the calls and post the results. At the time, I think we got printouts or something. I think we might have gotten cassettes in the mail with the recording. I don't know. But needless to say, they were awful. Our scores were no better than 50%. Nobody was using the skills, but more significantly, we weren't making any more money. And so, of course, I said to my boss, Signature does not work. And my boss, John Vernon, to this day, one of the most brilliant people I've ever known and a phenomenal boss, said to me, it's odd because the Hampton Inn is doing really well. So I wonder why their team is doing better than your team, which of course was all that I needed. So we revamped. I was a maniac about using the skills myself. It was really the first time I learned if the GM doesn't do it, the staff doesn't do it. And then I made it fun and I put some incentives in place. And so our scores were much better. But the truly amazing part was my ADR raised $10. And this was in 1996 in 1 month. And we did nothing differently for our rates. I didn't change them. I didn't raise them. We had the rates that they were. We didn't do a lot of rate management. And our rates went up $10. And our occupancy increased. So we were converting more calls and literally $10 for nothing. And so that was my first indication that there might be something to this whole having a better conversation. And so I literally remember thinking at the time, I should sell for that company. Like I could sell that product. But I ended up going down a whole bunch of different paths. 10 years later, however, I think I was looking for a job, and lo and behold, I ended up going to work for Signature selling this simple product, because to me, kind of a no-brainer. So that is what we started out doing, and we still do. It's probably 30% of our business right now. We go in, we train, we teach your people how to sound better, and then we help you make more money. We've since expanded a bit and evolved our program, certainly because customers have changed. And so I brought a couple of calls that I actually want to play for you today. One of the big opportunities that we spotted a couple years ago were these OTA conversations that hotels were having. Potential customers were calling the hotel saying, hey, I'm looking online, I'm seeing this rate. Should I book it online? Should I book it with you? What should I do? And we were appalled at how hotels were answering. So I brought a sample call that you might recognize the voice of the shopper. I was just sort of curious. So I called 5 hotels one day, recorded all 5, and this is one, but they were all the same. So Lauren.
Hold on. I'm going to try technology. We're going to try to share the screen, and
it's the GK. It ends with GK.
Lauren just disappeared. Up there.
Oh, and we do this.
Begin the Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yes.
My name. How may I assist you? Hi, I just have a question for you. I'm looking online and found a rate for April 1st of $134. Is it better for me to book it online or to book it through you? Let me see here. You said April 1st, and for how many nights? 2 nights. And are you looking at 1 or 2 beds? It doesn't matter. There's one person. No, it looks like the online is going to be the better rate for you. The ones that I'm showing are at 159 to 159 for a single king size bed. Okay, that makes it easy. Do you know, is there anything fun going on that weekend in Phoenix? April 1st. Not honestly that I know of off the top of my head. But there's always something going on here. Usually in the area. A lot of outdoor things that cycle on. Okay. I just can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. All right. Okay. Thank you very much for your help. You're welcome. Have a great day. You too. Bye.
All righty. So I actually have more interesting video choices on the left-hand side here.
Let's start with why we shouldn't be using YouTube.
I'm like, hey, I got some great stuff I should be.
Because we're now going to have to
put the show, guys. I got some things to play back here.
So I want to know why these came up as recommended in your YouTube, Laura.
Exactly.
You know, obviously, I like the Olympics and fishing. That isn't apparent, and cars and really cool technology flying. Yeah. I like it. I'm going to keep the screen off right now because I'm probably a little blushing thinking that these things popped up on my YouTube.
All I can see.
Okay, so shall we move on to the next call?
No. Well, so
first of all, what was going on in Phoenix that week?
I have no idea. That's just what I always ask.
Whoa.
There we go.
That's just what I always ask. There wasn't anything particular. But I guarantee there was something going
on.
Said,
just kidding. It's April Fool's Day.
Or
yeah, it's April Fool's Day. We short sheet all the beds in the hotel. It's great.
Or she could have said, "What are you interested in?" And it was going to be, restaurants. It was very easy stuff that she could have compiled. Which the next call that I have will kind of showcase the way that works. But That is, I literally that day made 5 calls, and I think 4 of them were like that. One of them, I think, did a better job of saying, you might as well book with us and I'll just match the rate. But the other 4 calls. So my point to that is, we've obviously had to evolve. We've created some programs around this particular issue where we're helping people to figure out how to not, A, get intimidated and automatically just match the rate, but also how to sell to them and not let them hang up, which is everybody's inclination. Let's let them hang up, book online. So not only are you paying the fees, but you're going to lose the business. I mean, chances are good when they go online, something else is going to pop up that catches their eye and you're going to lose the business altogether. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the one way that we've evolved. But additionally,
what year was that? What year was that call from?
March.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What?
That's sad. That's sad.
That is sad.
Oh, we make those calls every week, and they're the same.
Very honestly, that example of a bad call was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I think it's more like a typical, not very good call. Sort of.
That is actually kind of a typical. People aren't rude. I mean,
right.
No, that doesn't last.
Yeah. The bad ones are when they go, oh, I'll transfer to the front desk. It rings and rings and rings, goes back to the operator. You can't get anybody to talk. Yeah, all those sorts of.
Those are bad.
Yeah.
The other thing that we learned over the last couple of years is that callers obviously have changed. In the old days, when I was originally a customer, if you told them you had a coffee maker and wireless internet, or not even wireless internet in your hotel, they were sold. You told them something about your hotel. Today, callers have looked at 12 to 17 websites. They know what's going on. You can't tell me I have a coffee maker. You've got to be a lot more conversational, which is a big challenge with the audience that we're training now at the front desk, who are texters and emailers, getting them to engage people and actually have a conversation as opposed to kind of following a script was a big challenge that we had to overcome. So we've ended up having to do a lot of active listening and all sorts of different modifications to our original training program, which brings us to the next call. If you're not too scared about bringing up YouTube again.
Oh, it's the same good pictures. I'm just going to bring it up anyway. I figure what the heck. Share my YouTube links. You ever go to a conference? You ever go to a conference and somebody goes live?
It's called private browsing. Okay, start using it.
Hey, what's on YouTube is on YouTube. But if you ever go to a conference, just as a sidebar, you ever go to a conference and the person goes live on the thing and they start typing in the address bar and it's a shortcut to something else that they shouldn't have been sharing?
Again, I called private browsing, people.
Go to that website.
Incognito tabs.
Yeah.
Use them. And by the way, that same thing that just happened to Lauren on YouTube, this is also why we tell hotels to stop investing money in building audiences in uncontrolled environments. Because that crap shows up next to your hotel.
Everything. It does. Yeah. It's just all the time, every time. All right, let's go see if I can embarrass myself again.
So this is a client that we've trained. Part of the outcome.
Here, this time I'll do this. And then we'll do this.
Thank you for calling the Hampton Inn Suites in Lodi. It's Christina speaking. How may I assist you?
Yes, hi. I wanted to see if you had a room for next month.
For what?
Oh.
Unmute.
Sorry.
Have your name and availability for
Yep,
that?
my bad.
Rebecca.
All right, Rebecca. So I have you arriving on Saturday, June 11th, departing on Monday, June 13th?
Correct.
Okay, and have you stayed with us before, Rebecca?
We haven't. No.
Oh, well, perfect. We'll bring you over to the area.
Well, we're getting together with some dear friends of ours and doing a little wine tasting.
Oh, that's my favorite thing to do, so I can tell you all about it. Whenever you do come, we do have a local wine map available, so we can give that to you. And if you have any questions about any of the wineries, my name's Chris.
Stop muting it.
I do just want to let you know that we have breakfast.
Did I?
6 to 10
Yep.
you eat before you go and enjoy all that wine. And
Okay.
also on your way back, we have the pool and jacuzzi, which you are either more than welcome to enjoy the wine by the pool and relax.
Aw, that would be fun. How late is the pool open till?
from 10 to 10.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, that'll be perfect for you guys. All right, so let's see what we have for those rates. Oh, my computer froze. Okay, so it looks like for those nights we have either the traditional double queens or single kings for $169, or we have the studios for $20 more at $189.
Oh, I see. Now, is the studio's a little bit bigger?
Yes, the studio will be about twice the size. It will also have a pull-out couch and a microwave and refrigerator.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty good, just for $20 more.
Sure.
It kind of depends what you're looking for and stuff like that. Can I make one of these reservations for you?
You know what? I need to just kind of confirm the date. So, but I will get back with you, I'm sure.
Okay, well, perfect. Well, just to let you know, we do have a 24-hour cancellation policy, and I do see that the limited availability is starting a little bit more limited. So if you did want to make this reservation, there would be no obligation to you because of the 24-hour cancellation policy. Are you sure I can't make that for you?
Oh, goodness. You know what? I'm going to think about it. And like I said, kind of look at my calendar just to make sure everything is kosher on my end. So.
Okay. Do you have any other questions about the hotel area?
Well, now, I'm not sure what are you checking?
Pause this? Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead. But it just sort of goes on. She's a little bit compelling, not for very much longer, but.
Okay. And there we go. Oh, so I learned a valuable lesson. My microphone literally is my only audio source because I thought, I'm making noise back here. Let me hit it off, but it actually is playing the audio from my monitors. So my bad. Sorry. Thank God for the transcripts.
By episode 155, we'll get the tech on down.
Exactly.
This is going to be like smooth grease.
So obviously she failed in converting that reservation.
Yeah.
So
if she was really good, you would have gone and stayed in Lodi, even though it was a test call. That's would have really been. Yeah. Then they're really good.
Like to actually make the reservation, and it is depressing because these guys do such a great job, and then we're always like, no. Some clients have us make the reservation. I always think that's good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the value of a well-trained staff. I mean, it's conversational. She's engaged. What we've really found is with all of the technology, they've got to create some sort of emotional bond, and the caller liked that person. That agent. That's what's going to happen. So that is what we do. We have expanded we do front desk service training. We do certainly group sales training, but with all of our training, it's kind of the same format. We train you, we measure you, we try and reinforce you. And the big lesson that we've learned over the last probably 5 or 6 years, and it's mostly been in working with casinos and in the heavy equipment industry. I was fortunate to have a boss who knew how to inspire me to be a role model and do those things, but not everyone does. And so we probably invest as much time now in training supervisors to feel comfortable holding their staffs accountable to using, these skills, whatever skills that we're training them on. So we do a lot of, we call it coaching for performance training if we do 4 hours of frontline training, we probably do 8 hours of training with supervisors to make sure that they know how to be a good coach and good motivator and challenge their team. So that's what we do.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, we had some conversations about like security training and so forth and before. Do you guys tackle that at all? Where, Ed's great about throwing. I challenge anybody to stay at a hotel that Ed stays at because I think he throws USBs in the parking lot just for fun. But I mean,
you should see the networks I set up in hotels too.
Yeah.
I
know. Hilton free Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Just put in your credit card just so we can ensure it's you.
Just
exactly.
No repeaters here.
Right.
But no. Well, do you have security training for that? Because it really is a great point that I made about that, huh? Yep.
Yeah, I've actually brought it up. I think it is something that we should look at.
Yeah,
good because
area.
Yeah, because it is that soft target, not the technology cracking, as pointed out. It's just literally somebody as silly as picking up a USB going, I wonder if these things are any good, and jack it into the computer. Next thing you know, you're
No,
another
it's not
Omni
even they're
hotel.
wondering if it's any good. They're wondering if it will help them understand who they can get it back to.
So yeah. I would be
Because
like,
everyone
is this
puts
any
their
good?
key on
Too
their
bad they
USB.
lost it. I found it. The other is about, did you guys ever try to tackle social training about, the staff being more socially aware of opportunities of content that they could be sharing, like the bellman seeing somebody or a sunset or a thing to do and then sharing that on? Is that something you guys tackle as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we've really evolved into so many different areas within this. Obviously, people aren't just calling on the phone, they're emailing. So we do email training, we do chat training. Some of the brands, Hilton actually hired us to train their IT help department so that when they're communicating with hotels about what they should and shouldn't be doing, they're much more service focused.
A little less annoyed of a tone.
Very much.
Have you tried restarting your computer?
Yeah.
What did you mess up now?
Restart your computer and call
Is
me
it
back.
is it plugged in? Yeah.
We did mystery shop calls and played those calls back for the IT people, and they were mortified.
They were high-fiving each other. You gave that guy a hard time, those idiots.
How long did you keep him on hold? Was he still there?
They were mortified. It sounded like that, and they all did.
Why not a CRO? Why not just tell everybody to kick it to a CRO?
That's been probably 50. We're celebrating our 30th year. We're 30 years old this year, which is a long time for a company that serves hotels to ride the waves. And one of the big waves was, 15 years ago, I guess, when CROs became the flavor of the day. And we thought, well, that's the end of us. But first, we ended up training a lot of CROs. Almost all the brands probably brought us in to train them initially. But second, CROs have their place. And we sort of go through peaks and valleys. I think this is funny. We lost a whole bunch of Marriott customers a long time ago because they put a lot of pressure on their hotels to shift all their calls to CRO. But now we're getting a ton of Marriott back because the emphasis is less on CRO and much more on online booking. Mm-hmm. So that's our new thing that we're battling. But we've always been able to maintain because nobody sells your hotel like your hotel people. Mm-hmm. And most of our owners have learned we're doing a lot more than reservations training. We're training your staff to be good listeners and problem solvers and so much more that then gets them better TripAdvisor scores. I mean, that's ultimately, they sound better, they're nicer. So
TripAdvisor must have been big for you guys because now there's a public scorecard.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It builds your target list. Let's look at the bottom 5 in every market and let's call them.
Exactly.
That's not those people, we don't do well with them.
Oh, okay.
They aren't interested, right? They don't care.
Right. They don't want to make the investment, and we're not cheap. I mean, it's a good investment to bring us in, and that level, they're not willing to make that sort of investment.
So you look for movers, ones that were like number 3 and now we're number 8.
Yeah. Absolutely. And really the middle segment. We want the folks who are stuck in the middle and want to improve.
Yeah. The ones who aspire.
Yeah, the ones that see the value to it, but they're just on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just not sure how to get there, but they want to get there. And they get that it's a time and money investment.
So now, have you done any work with groups that are more on the technology algorithmic end where they're developing chatbots and things like that for the how to deal with these things? I would think those folks would be very good to come across. Now, you may be destroying jobs for humans, so you have to get over that little hurdle.
They do training.
Yes, they do.
Not job creation. Okay.
I know. That's true.
So what do you mean? Have we trained?
What's happening
program
now,
chatbots on how to make a chatbot.
How to make a chatbot really sell very efficiently, because these are the cues, these are the questions that you get.
Chatbots love wine.
Yeah, exactly. If you can extend the scope of not necessarily cutting over to a human, you save a lot of money.
That's pretty funny. No, we have not. I will pursue it.
You should.
Yep. Definitely should.
TM. Oh, now you owe me a cut.
Oh, the other question I had for you: when you were working with the tech department, did you come up with the code or come across the code in ID10T at all? Ed knows what I'm talking about.
Draw it out.
Yeah.
Draw it out on a piece of paper. Think about it like a license plate.
Yeah.
IE10T.
Just curious.
And now the show has turned a whole new turn.
Those usually come after USR errors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird. We have moved into a bunch of different industries, and this is awful to say, but our most recent industry is drug addiction rehab centers.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the exact same thing that we encountered 30 years ago when we were starting to sell to hotels. Everybody wants to just discount.
Oh.
And it's the same thing with rehab people. They immediately go, I mean, if you make shop calls, which we've done, which I feel terrible about, but we call and the first thing they want to say is, well, it's $9.87 a day to get this whatever treatment, this drug for replacement for an opiate addiction. But if that's too much, and they drop down to $9.47 a day. Like it's not relevant. 40 cents is not relevant. So yeah, we've involved.
If they hired recovering drug dealers, they probably do a lot better.
There you go.
They knew how to get the people into it.
Exactly.
Right. It's awful though, but yeah.
People are talking to.
It is funny to walk around our call center and listen to our mystery shoppers talk about their drug addiction problems, and then also the fact that they're digging a giant hole and they need a backhoe that's going to do something, because that's heavy equipment is another big industry for us.
Is it the same person? Because I don't think you should be talking about drug addiction while operating heavy equipment.
So from a budgeting point of view, what should companies consider if they're considering taking on the service? What are they looking at for, I mean, not price points, but really just what's some considerations they should have? What kind of return values are potentials and things like that?
It's a no-brainer. The payback's about, at worst case, about 2 months. As long as you don't do what I did and take the training and don't do it. And, we have things in place now that are going to help you, but the payback is probably about 2 months. Everything else is the conversion rate. We increase conversion rates a minimum probably of 10% out of the gate. And then it just is exponential from there in terms of the value that we're selling and upselling. And
does it also help with employee retention? I have to imagine.
It absolutely does. For a couple different reasons, I think, but people want to do a good job. They just don't necessarily have the tools and the support.
Mm-hmm.
And the shopping that we do, I tell people out of the gate, if you're going to do the shopping, it can never be punitive because it doesn't work. You should only look at it as an incentive or as a reward. So when owners decide they're going to cut back and they take away the shopping calls, the staff generally rebels because there's some bonus tied to their calls. And so they want that shopping done, which is a good thing.
Well, I've got a question. So now that rate parity is somewhat demise, how are you training people to deal with hey, I saw this for $134 online and your rate's $159? What's kind of the approach that you recommend, or the best practice, as opposed to just like, yeah, we'll match it? No, or actually part of that is empowering the employees to do anything, right? Because a lot of times they're like, I don't have it. I don't have access. I can't match it. So
that's what we do. We go into a hotel and we talk to the GM and say, what are your policies? What do you want us to teach them to do in terms of, do you want us eventually as a fallback to be able to match the rate or not? Mm-hmm. And if not, why? Like, let's look at what it's costing you for that $5, you're not going to let them discount it. But really, so we talk to the GM first, but then we, like everything else, we have a conversation with the customer. So, all right, why are you coming here? Let me see what I can do for you. And 9 times out of 10, we can figure out some angle with this customer that we can get them a room type that they're not going to be able to get for that price. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, they're going to pay $10, $15 more, but they're going to end up with the experience that they wanted. And it's just teaching them. First thing is teaching them that when you send them to the OTA, there's a big expense to your hotel. Most front desk people never knew that. And as soon as you tell them that starts to change some behavior. Oh, I don't want to send these people away.
Mm-hmm.
But then, giving them the sales training basically to ask questions and present a viable alternative.
So taking a page from the Ed School of Advanced Marketing Strategies, do you offer some combination value by signing up this year that you're billable next year, or there's an incentive value to get started now rather than waiting to put it on next year's docket? Is there something like that you guys look at, or how do you approach your marketing for yourself?
So it's interesting. I drive a lot of this for my company. And you know how I was saying earlier about how precise I like to be? We have to practice what we preach at Signature. The salespeople who work for me, I drive them crazy. I don't want to discount. I want to sell the value of what we do. And I have learned after all these years, if somebody's not willing to pay for that value, they're not going to be successful with our program. So let's just, find a cheaper alternative. They're out there. And so, no, I don't. We have an install price. It's $3,000 for a day of training. And then we have an ongoing, I bundle everything else into an ongoing package that, varies depending on how many times the trainer comes back and how many shopping calls you're getting. It's, $300 to $400 a month. For a, 150 room hotel, it's probably a $7,500 investment for a
really
year.
Cheap. I mean,
it does. It doesn't seem bad at all. You said you're expensive, but I'm sitting there going $7,500. 60 days later, I'm getting the benefit, potential ADR increases, retention value, direct channel value. I mean, it's a pretty easy math.
Well, and I imagine as part of the training, you're introducing KPIs as well, right? I mean, for someone who's like, you know what, I think our KPIs are out of date, just being able to pay to get modern KPIs.
Yeah.
That seems cheap.
It is. I think it's cheap, obviously.
I'm sorry.
But,
that seems like a very good value for what
yes, an exceptional value for the price.
Precisely positioned to be a value and not sloppy.
The couple $100 a month is usually pretty easy for people to take. It's that $3,000 investment up front. And also, here's the other thing we don't do. You can't hire us just for that day of training. The day of training is spectacular. It's so much fun. It's so motivating. And many people would like to hire us just for that and then don't want to do the ongoing program. Certain failure. So we won't do it because it harms our ultimate reputation. Sure. So you have to do the ongoing.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Makes sense.
So if anybody wants to get and reach out to you, Holly, how do they find you? What's the best way to communicate?
Is it timpeter.com/signature?
Holly Zoba?
Holly Zoba at Signature Worldwide, longest email, signatureworldwide.com.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time to go through the details and putting up with my bodacious YouTube playing.
You may want to send him some of your training tracks on browser.
Yeah. Browser hygiene.
We tend to put edge behind everything. I like that. Browser hygiene edge.
Yeah. Now we kind of bled over the hour what we thought we were going to do because we're having this fun conversation.
Surprise!
You know what? Structure is meant to be broken. All right. The one thing that you threw up, Robert, for those who Facebook changed the blocking procedures, and I just thought that was an interesting tech or tool point to make about it. Is okay. It's very sly of what they've done, and I thought that it would be best to explain exactly why you thought that would be an important topic.
Facebook being a little bit evil went and the number of ad blockers now, I mean, it's getting up to, I think it's something like 40% or something. I mean, there's a sizable number of people using ad blockers. And the prediction is, in a couple of years, it's probably going to be closer to 60%. So obviously that's a problem for anybody who's an advertising-based business. So Facebook basically tweaked their technology a little bit and basically has made it impossible to block ads on Facebook's pages. So that's kind of the bad news. Well, good news, bad news, depending on the side that you're looking at on. But what they've done in exchange for that is basically said, well, you can't really block ads on us, but if you give us more information, then we'll be able to give you more relevant ads, and you won't get the distracting stuff. It'll only be stuff you like. So fundamentally, the evil part being, yes, give us more information and we can more highly target these ads, which we can charge the advertisers a higher rate for, and everyone wins.
So, listen, I get what you're saying. And like, if it was Google, I'd be right there with you saying, yep, they're evil. But the thing is like Facebook really pisses off their advertisers a lot by not allowing them to do the crappy things that advertisers try to do to ruin experiences to make their ads stick out. And Facebook also has been doing a ton of work to make sure that only ads you would care about are put in front of you, which again, you have to ask the question of, isn't that better than an ad blocker? Because here's the thing, if we all block ads, guess what happens? Internet starts costing us more money because advertising revenue is what funds most of these business models. Just like the whole problem TV had originally with DVRs when they came out. You start skipping those commercials, you have to start paying more for TV because that's how we're paying for this stuff. This stuff isn't free. So, I mean, with it being Facebook, I don't think it's as evil as if it was Google, mainly because they have time and time again proven that they take user experience as the first rule to anything they do, which is what is the impact of user experience? And there's been many, many cases where that's been at the detriment of their ability. Like they could be making a lot more money right now than they currently are, but then they'd eventually end up like Yahoo, they'd eventually end up like Twitter, and they'd end up like how most of us feel about Google, which is, all right, you keep giving me free crap. That's the only reason I'm putting up with it, but they have to constantly come up with free crap to give us. So, I mean, with Facebook, I'm a little less annoyed by the approach. And also don't forget, the primary areas they're blocking those ad blockers is their own environment. So most Facebook browsing is done on Facebook's application, and most web browsing done from Facebook is in Facebook's web browser. You know, so when you click on a link in your Facebook app, you're not going to your Safari or your Google Chrome, you're using Facebook's browser. So Facebook can do that. And they can do it easier than if they were trying to do it on a desktop, you know, Safari browser or something like that. So when you're inside their infrastructure, allowing another software to impede the experience of their own infrastructure, I kind of don't blame them.
No, I don't blame. I was being a little bit confused with them being evil.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I don't know.
I think there may be a little bit of
a because I knew Ed was going to go, you know, as a champion of all that is social. They would be like, wait a minute, hold on.
I'm not a champion of all that social. I'm sorry, hold on. There is a lot of things I have a problem with. Like, I hate Twitter. I can't say how many times I've said that on this show. I hate Twitter.
Don't sell to yourself, but then you highlight your features of social.
Just because I hate Twitter doesn't mean it's not right for other people. But
you don't like using Twitter?
Yeah, I hate Twitter. I hate everything about it. It doesn't mean, you know, I don't see the benefit for other people, but anyone who's good at what they do in the world recognizes that their own personal preferences mean nothing to what they're doing. If you're serving the general world, you have to put aside what your reaction would be and what your thought processes would be, and understand that there are people who live and die on Twitter. Granted, most of them are terrorists and keep getting knocked off, but you know, Twitter will figure that out someday. Or they're bots like Robert Cole.
losers. Yeah.
I'm actually marking that as a highlight. You encapsulated a point that I would say safely a majority of most marketers don't even recognize about themselves. I'm so, over the years, anybody that I was talking to with marketing, they always saw the perspective of what we're talking about as strategy from the perspective of what it sell them. And it's so hard, what you just said, for them to understand that it's not about selling to you. It's about selling to the people that are wanting your product. Your opinion, however valid, isn't the whole market strategy. And that's where ownerships of hotels always seem to get blocked. That's why for so many years, pictures of porticoches and lobbies were the prevalent rich media preference, because that's what they bought. And that was them beating them chest saying, here's my building and here's my...
Here's my ego ad. Ego
yes,
ad.
It is. And it's like...
Give me some vanity metrics with that ego ad.
Yeah, here's a nice architectural photo of the empty bar at night or something.
Yeah, that's a positive.
Speaking of which, I'm actually speaking about this whole lack of human element in hotel marketing in 2 weeks at HSMAI in Arizona.
I'm going to be there.
Are you really?
And bugging me because I have to pay $40 to come and see
you. When you get me for free once a week.
She brought that. I was talking to Holly yesterday. She's like, I can get Ed for free 2 hours every week. What the hell am I paying $40 for to see him?
Because you're getting Ed in a suit. That's what you're doing. That's the suit fee.
Oh, all right. Then that's worth it.
The suit fee. No, it's actually funny. I think too many people forget that just because you won't do something doesn't mean there's not millions of people who will. I personally love the timeshare side of this industry, yet I would never purchase a timeshare myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not the person they're going after.
Right.
And that's also why, like, my favorite thing to do here at Flip2 is get on call with luxury hotels who believe that luxury travelers won't do what Flip2 does. And they tell me who their target audience is. And I'm like, yeah, so that's me. So let me poke holes in your whole thought process, because I'm not 90 years old. I have spent over $2,000 a night for a hotel because I saw the value in it. So you know, you need to change your perspective on what, and listen, millennials are changing it. You can't go by income anymore because millennials will starve for 4 months to splurge on travel. That's great news for the travel industry. You're no longer competing with, you know, things like food and, you know, bathing on a regular basis or having electricity at their house.
That's right.
Or Wi-Fi. They just use it at work. Yeah.
No, but it's the Vegas Ultra Club bottle service mentality. Yeah, you got 10 people who say, "Wait, we're all going to go in and spend this much money, and we're going to do this. We're going to blow it out on whatever night. It's going to be great."
There's a really high-end hotel opening up. And I was talking to them because they were like, you know, is this going to work? And I'm like, what's your ADR? And they're like, it's $800 a night. I'm like, it's not a problem. Like, we get nervous around $3,500 a night just because that generally is a different person. But then I asked them, like, what are you doing for, you know, because it's going to be a brand new building. So I always love to hear what's like for early birds. And they told me what it was. And they're like, we don't think anyone's going to book it. And I'm like, all right, well then great. I'll call you the day before it goes live because I'm going. Because the restaurant they're going to have, I've eaten at one of these restaurants and it paid almost as much as the room rate. And that comes for 2. And then the spa treatment, I was like, I'll book it. I'll book all 100. I have friends.
So, Mike, how big's the hotel?
Small. I don't want to give it away because...
No. I'm just wondering how many rooms.
Under 200.
Yeah.
Under 200, but it's going to be a keystone of a major luxury brand. It's their new high end of high end. And, you know, and it's great location, and the restaurant I'm really excited about. It's a good celebrity chef. And it's a celebrity chef who I've paid, you know, $500-$600 for dinner for 2 at one of their restaurants. So, you know, and what they're going at is $1,000 a night rate, and it comes with dinner for 2 and spa for 2. That's a deal.
That's value.
Yeah.
That's great value.
Yeah.
No, okay. I have a,
and that is what you, that is the classic of what you have to, I know Ed hates it when I mention my past, but that's what Four Seasons was.
It has to get in every show. It has to.
It doesn't have to get in every show, but
can you just start, you have blank space behind you all the time. Can you just throw up the logos?
Look, I pinned the board
years.
I can actually put up I don't know if I have it over here. I may be able to put up a great.
Hey, I actually
maybe wear like a racing suit.
Yeah. No, but that was the thing. I mean, I was there a long time ago in the 80s, but the whole marketing planning process was getting away from this whole rate thing and selling value, and all the stuff that Holly talked about of selling. You have to convince people of the value. If you start trying to tell them back then at $300, $500 a night that you're going to lose if they're looking at a price point. You've got to say, here is the value. You are going to get the greatest experience, and that's it. And so when you start saying great chef, great spa, great room, and it sounds like great brand, affiliation. Yeah, $800, $1,000. That should not be.
There's no difference.
At that
price point, the 200
for 100 to 200 keys, depending on the markets.
Right.
It's in
a good market.
If it's in a good major market, that's great. If you're in San Antonio or something,
right. No. It's in a market that honestly, I think their ADR is going to end up around $1,100-$1,200.
That's great.
Just because I know the market well,
and it should.
Yeah.
I have a legitimate question, and it kind of is pointed towards Ed, but I would love everybody if we could chime into this. As you're talking, Ed, about how people at certain age groups for disposable income will starve themselves, so to speak, to have the experience value. And yes, it's been in the news recently. It's a great time to be in travel because people are less retail oriented and more experience oriented, and so you're thriving for that. So I'm thinking, wow, membership. Here we got this huge direct membership thing everybody's doing to try to improve their direct bookings and so forth, and they're using the excuse of membership. But what membership value do you see? We had a quick discussion of, throwing you somebody a high level membership to initiate the value proposition, the pizza thing that I was talking about. But what membership do you envision, or any of us envision, would be a useful value to the people you just described? That we're not looking at how much frequency per year they come back to, but their loyalty of their returnability on a lifetime level or something.
I actually gave this person, because she was sure that people weren't going to want to book this, and they're only doing it for like the first 100 people who book. So I'm like, what are you going to do to keep the hotel full for the first 3 or 4 months? And she's like, we haven't figured that out yet. I'm like, well, don't do anything on the rate. Here's my suggestion. So they are part of a brand that has a loyalty program. And I said, anyone who books and stays in the first 2 or 3 months, or however you want to do it, based on what demand looks like, is you should award a temporary level to their loyalty program for that year. And I said, here's the thing. Some of them, it won't matter to, because they were already at that loyalty level with you. Some of them you're going to steal from other hotel loyalty programs, because they'll go stay at your hotel to get that level, because they knew what they had to do to get to that level with the other hotel's loyalty program. And then I said, plus it doesn't cost you anything. Like, it doesn't. A level, and especially this level, the one I was talking about with them, like, it costs you nothing. Like, I'm the level below that level, and I see what that level gets, and it's nothing. And really what that comes from is an experience I had with Caesars, Harrah's, whatever they call themselves today.
Now they call themselves Caesars. But.
Yeah, whatever. I had one good night of blackjack, got me into a diamond level with them. And my gosh, I became addicted to the diamond level benefits. I almost never took them up on the comp room nights, because I work in the hotel industry and I work heavily in Vegas, like to the point where I don't tell people sometimes when I'm going to Vegas, because they get offended I didn't stay with them. So I don't need the room nights. But man, cutting that taxi line in August, oh my gosh. Like, it makes me want to take an extra trip just to make sure I continue to qualify for that level.
That's what Ollie said. That's what Ollie said.
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
right.
Interesting story about it was Harrah's at the time when we did dynamic packaging, and unfortunately we wound up selling the company, and the guys who bought it never picked up on it. But we were working with Harrah's. And because we were doing this dynamic packaging stuff, what we really thought the opportunity would be for 2 things for them. One was they were selling timeshares like crazy. Mm-hmm. And we thought that would be, hey, bundle in the tour, you can pile all these things in and go. But we really thought that if you're a Diamond member, just book through the website or whatever. If it's an agent doing it, that's fine. Your airfare is free, your food and beverage, here's your package code is everything's covered. Right. And it doesn't matter. Fly them first class from wherever they are. That's great. If you're, if you're in that strata, it's done. And all you do is you settle that off to folio A. Yep. And what they pay is 0 always, no matter what. Doesn't matter. You want to do this, convert them through, and yes.
Yeah, because done. The other thing is like when they did get me, I was constantly bringing people with me.
Right.
Like, so the value they got out of the crap they gave me for free was massive.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't give me all that much for free. That was costly. And, but there were times that I went out with 8 or 9 other people who then were kind of forced to stay near me and, book regular rates and stuff. And so I think, first of all, when you're trying to appeal to
I saw a movie like that. It was called, or was it Entourage? It was a TV show?
Maybe, I don't know.
I remember that.
But if you're trying to appeal to
that was Ed.
A luxury, traveler, like someone who like sees benefit in those things, status and lack of hassle, like these are the things. Like lack of hassle to me is so valuable, like so valuable that like Southwest has gotten me with Business Select. I'll pay the extra money just to have Business Select to be one of the first ones on the plane, like just because of the lack of hassle. I pay Clear. So if any of you have been in an airport with Clear, I pay Clear $200 a year. So I'm the next person to put my stuff down on the security thing. Like it's all about convenience, time savings, and simplicity. You appeal to that, you've opened my wallet.
Yep.
Yeah, and also your data, because you're willing to sacrifice data to have that personalization, the UI experience, even more so, because that personalization, the global entry stuff. I mean, nothing pleases me more than when I'm coming back into country and everybody's going that way and I get to go that way. Put my little hand on the pad, throw my passport, and walk right out. You know,
I have no secrets.
You know me completely. Take my picture.
Yep. No, but that ties back to Holly's training. I mean, those are the buttons you need to push to,
and you need to understand
these sales.
And you need to understand your vision of the people who are willing to do that. Like, it's not the strata you think it is. Like, it's not the 1%, because the 1% is not what America pictures. The 1% is like
it's more like the 85%.
It's 85 to 95%. Like that is like middle management at Verizon, and that is senior sales leadership at any company that sells a product over 30 grand a year.
If you want to look at the distinction between the two types of people, the people that are used to sitting in first class in a plane aren't taking pictures of themselves sitting in first class in a plane, because when they're in first class in a plane and you don't get that privilege very often, you're like, look at me, I'm in first class, you know?
Yeah, but you know what? The one thing the first class passengers can't do that they want to do is to take the picture out the window behind the wing of the sunset. They can't do that.
They can't do it.
They've got to figure that one out. That's the one conflict for the turn left or turn back crew. So
I'll tell you what though. And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robert. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say because of the 85%, when I was with Mark Travel, we had Fun Jet Vacations, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, massive volumes of people, mid-market brand down to Cancun. That's the absolute best thing. We'd talk to all the travel agents, say, sell the non-stop transfers, right? The direct transfer, because otherwise you get out and you get on this bus, you stop at 3 other resorts, you wind up at maybe you're first and you're like, not, or pay whatever it is. It's like 10 or 20 bucks a person. You go, boom, right there, you have more beach time.
Yep.
Look at the total number of hours you have. Get there quick, eliminate the hassle, the friction of all that
hassle
stuff.
Factor.
It's the best money you can spend.
Yeah.
And we had the reviews and we had the stats to show, here are the people who did the direct, and look at the satisfaction coming back and the net promoter scores and everything.
You have to think through that mindset. Like, so, back when I started Easy Yield and I was making no money and I was broke, I still had a housekeeper, because I'd rather eat crappy food than spend my weekends cleaning my house.
Holly seems to be nodding
my wife had such a hard time with that when we were dating. She's like, I don't want someone cleaning stuff up after me. Take it from her now. Like, our weekends are ours. We do whatever we want. So even when I couldn't afford things, I found a way to afford a housekeeper, because hassle and time are so high on my list of, you want to pull levers with me, remove hassle and save me time, and I'm in.
But Ed, here's excuse me, here's the downside. Which would she rather give up, you or the housekeeper?
Well, me.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, by the way,
that was not even a question. I thought that was obvious to everyone.
Exactly.
You made me feel very smart, Ed, because I had literally an exact conversation that you just described to the hotel about not discounting rates for openings and instead doing some value proposition. And I did a quick calculator for him, and I'll tell you why I'm thinking calculators in my head. But I did this cost of yeah, they were looking at percentage growth on their occupancy. So we mathed out very quickly. I showed them quickly how just took the actual occupancies that they were calculating for and what discounts options they were looking to put into it. And we calculated the loss of revenue factor. And I said, now translate that to your implied costs of these value adds that you'll be giving, where you're not having to do retail value or dollars in. It's just cost factor associated with your discounted products. And it was literally like a 20-to-1 comparison between what they were going to give up in revenue potential versus the cost associated with just value enhancements to the audiences that they can control. So,
and some of it too is like understanding the mindset of the person when you're interacting with them. So we have a hotel, I can say their name because we use them in all of our marketing, the Shores in Daytona. The Shores in Daytona had been on the platform for a while, and they were giving away 2 free drinks to people who became advocates for them. And I hated it because it was a hard cost item. And one of the things the Shores is known for, they're fire pits and doing s'mores. And they give away these s'mores kits like if you walk in the lobby. So I'm like, hey, give away s'mores kits for advocates. And they're like, oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. 21, they went from 12% guest share, 21% of guest share now. Do you know how many people actually show up and say, I want my s'mores kit because I did this?
Oh,
like,
I can imagine.
Like three out of 100. I mean, and it's because you just, at the time, you captured their imagination. So you just spent all this time in your marketing. There's fire pits everywhere on the website and everything. And they just booked. Like, so appeal to the thing you marketed. And guess what? Even if they all said they wanted the s'mores kits, you were giving them away for free anyways.
There's a great, go ahead, Robert. I'm sorry.
I know Dave Littman had a conversation with him. This was back before it became hotels.com, right? When it was Hotel Reservations Network. Their big thing was the best rate guarantee, right? And that was it. They didn't always have the best rates. They knew they'd never. They were revenue managing these things above the hotel's pricing because they knew they could. And they were pricing it at market pricing, not whatever the hotel was doing.
Yep.
And I can't remember what it was. It was like 0.3% or something like that of the people actually ever called them on it. And that was because it was marketing. It was what people were looking for. They would stand by it. It was a guarantee. Just people didn't, they didn't do it.
There's a resort over in Clearwater Beach, the Sampro, beautiful resort.
Great resort.
Yeah, when I was back with those properties, we went in and we're trying to infuse social media with it and so forth. They had this thing where the seats around the fire pit was like their signature thing on the beach, and the seats around the fire pit that faced over the fire pit over towards the sunset to the water were like the prime seats. And so obviously anybody that was going to enjoy the fire pit that evening, those seats were the first to go and so forth. So we took the prime row of closest to the fire pit, but not too close, but facing out towards them. And when you go through your roster of arrivals, you prioritize people according to the relationship to the hotel that they represent. It's a standard thing you do every day, kind of stuff like, okay, let's bump this person up because we can, let's do this, let's this. We've made it the point that we would take the list of people that have never stayed with the hotel before, and from them chose a family or group, whatever the number was of people, that is who got the reserved seats by the fire pit that night. And that was the reward. They come in to check in and boom, here it is. And by the way, you've never been to this before, and we really want you to enjoy the most signature thing. So that turned into being the most posted thing because it was the most like, oh my God, because they're walking out and the crowd is all around the fire pit and all the chairs, except for their chairs. Their chairs are actually, and they felt like they were like, they got the penthouse suite on top of the resort. And that really burned in for them. Then we started tailoring that we were picking people that were new to it that also had good social following, but that was just a finite thing we did. But it really got that share going, and that created such a memory for people. That created that experience of loyalty. Like, when I come back, I got to do this. I know I can't sit there again, maybe, but man, if I can get down there, that's what I want.
Now, was there any backlash from your real loyal people who like, hey, I come here all the time, and
because we would give them different things for different reasons. They got like Ed's pointing out, hard cost stuff. They got free drinks, so they got this. And to a certain degree, the people that were looking to experience the resort, that were paying for that experience, they got so much benefit within their suite or within their experiences at the restaurants that, and yes, we did have where people could get certain reserved places, but they usually like the cabanas or something. So it really wasn't the thing that they didn't want to sit in the crowd. They like to sit in the cabanas overlooking the crowd. They got the view.
But you had another even better experience.
Yeah, and if that was the only limitation, I think I'd probably say then we would have kept other seats as well available for those people that we would give. But this was always the newbies seats.
Yeah.
And you just have to think through the psychology of who you're interacting with and what you're trying to get them to do, and what matters. And it's like it's lazy to go to coupons, it's lazy to go to discounts, it's lazy to go to free things. Like, that is just, you're not thinking, right? You're not truly putting yourself in the shoes of who you're working with.
Yeah, very true. We are 40
Good, Holly. Holly, get a smile.
And say, unless you're Red Lion giving away discounts on, then it's okay, Ed?
I'm not saying, hey, listen, first of all, like, there were some atrocities in revenue management in this industry. I call people all the time, even people I don't work with, saying, hey, I was on your site and you're saying this, but I see this on your site, which contradicts this on your site.
No.
what are you guys doing? Like, if you've known me long enough, you know I'll tell you when I see something that I think is ridiculous, and do with it what you want. You can disagree with me all you want, but you'll always know if I think something you're doing is ridiculous. And listen, I think more people need to do it, because everyone starts with good intentions, and then we put on all our hats and, get into complexity, and then things get lost. And sometimes someone needs to go, hey, you obviously aren't doing this on purpose. Mm-hmm. So here you go. Let's fix that.
You also get possessive. You get possessive of things, and you get defensive for those things. It's like, It was your idea. It was a success maybe at one particular point. So now it's turned into sacred cow. And then somebody comes in and challenges the sacred cow, and your first reaction is not to listen to them. Your first reaction is to defend it. And
sacred cows make delicious hamburgers.
And I can see where you would tell somebody that too. Be like, so this is your favorite thing, huh? It's
many times.
This one up. Hey, be mindful of time, and I appreciate very much the fact that everybody gets to be around. We still have a few more minutes before we get to say it's been a full 2 hours. But Ed, you had asked to bring back the conversation about the meta-search business to business thing. Didn't know if you still had time to chat about it for a few minutes before we wrap up.
I don't know. I forget where we were going with that.
That was the meta-search on the meta-search layer conversation that Robert had put into a T-News article.
TripAdvisor is now distributing its not just instant book, but its meta-search product through Google's meta-search, through Kayak, through Trivago. So you're getting layers, layers.
And they're not driving straight to the hotel. They're driving it to a platform for operating other hotels as well, options. So they're not doing a single Chevron.
Because rate parity is going away. Because if rate parity existed, you wouldn't need meta search.
Which one is that, Holly?
Henry.
Oh, it's Henry.
Hi, Henry.
Seth would love to meet Henry, but Seth is gone. So.
Well, like I said, it's something we can throw into next week as well, because it's not going to go away. It's probably going to start getting more prevalent. So it's not something for today. But one thing I do want to bring up, there is a calculator I need you guys' help with. I'm doing for the HSMEI. It is a digital marketing budget simulator. And I'm going to put the link over to the chat side, and then I'll post it up on the other one.
It already seems light. It seems light in consultancy. It seems light in training. It seems light in flip to. I mean, Lauren, come on.
I thought it was basically 1/3 to flip to, 1/3 to signature.
I put you on the logos in the back. I got you on the back.
1/3 to timpeter.com, which really kind of ticked me off. But I guess if that is the best practice, I've got to go with it.
Okay, fine. Anyway, simulator. I'm typing this out as I'm doing late whore. I'm not even spelling it right. Anyway, the idea is this. The Digital Marketing Council came up with the fact, hey, what if we had something that could help people through a budget time? And what I did was I mathed out off of another calculator. If you give hotel data like number of rooms.
I agree that this is the best budget calculator you can have. This link you put up.
Oh, yes. That link is.
Oh, hey, it's your budget thing again. Damn it. It didn't copy. Hold on.
See, Ed is now commandeered. This would be 100% to flip to.
Hey, but I already put yours up there.
Not enough.
I already put yours up there. Hold on.
I thank Eric Dorr for getting that link into Lauren's hands. And
Eric was good about that, man.
On this simulator, and you guys just give them grief. It's a great simulator.
What else would there be? Simulator. All right. So let me spell it again. Simulator. All right. Anyway, the idea of this.
Is that later with an 8?
Yeah, exactly.
The idea of this is if they put the hotel information in based on industry average conversions for the choices of categories for what they would spend their money on in digital marketing, it tries to match the revenue goal that you have assigned. It calculates out your anticipated digital marketing budget based on the numbers you put in, and then as you spend that money, and it decreases that little ticker. So you're using, it's a depleting number.
Do you know what would make this really valuable? Is if on the things that it's saying to spend money on, it included a link to good KPIs to hold your vendors up to, because you're talking about SEO and stuff like that. Dude, $1,000 with one SEO company versus $1,000 with another SEO company are two different things.
Right.
I think if you want to make this something that like grows and becomes powerful beyond putting my picture on it, I think you should.
That takes my market strategy out the window.
Put some really high quality KPIs and what to look for in these things.
No, you're right, and that's where right now this what you're seeing in the link isn't the actual function of it. At the bottom, the results would be on a click for results, and it would give you those results. But then it would also say, "Do you want these results sent to you?" And in that send would be what you're talking about: KPIs, best practices, what you should be looking for in each categorization, and why they would be of value in comparison to other stuff. It would be a static amount of content. One, I need help with good KPIs and good content for that, because being my only thoughts in it, I begin to believe my own BS. So having that static amount of content would be the helpful send out to it. Plus, from an HSMI point of view, I thought if people did that and they gave the email, that gives us a trailable link to recontact them and say, hey, how else can we be of help? Or are you an HSMAI member or something like that? It'd be a lead for something like that. But yes, one suggestion that Jay from Remington had when he first looked at it was that there's two categories that I have questions about: emails and SEO, because I try to make this market only dollars, but those are actually service cost dollars. And so he's saying it would be easier to identify the service cost in the results based on like commission percentage against the dollars you put in PPC, the cost of based on the hotel size for an agency, monthly agency fee, just do baselines of it's $4,000 or $2,500 a month or something like that, and add that into the results. And don't forget your 20% margin cost to do all this kind of stuff. What do you think? I don't know. I want it to be useful where people find like, hey, this is pretty cool. It helped me with the budget thought process of where I should allocate my monies, because I put monies into the departments I thought I was at the amount that I was going to put it in, and I didn't hit my revenue goals based on what I think I was.
But I liked Ed's idea of that, where if you do put in some KPIs and then you can kind of steer it down and look at those costs you just mentioned, and then really kind of get to this is kind of, using KPI, certainly not like this will definitely happen. But this is kind of the incremental revenue, and here's kind of the incremental in the net cost. And
do you think it should be dynamic, or you think it's
this kind of return from these are sort of the benchmarks you should look at for the returns off of these marketing spend.
And I think we're getting a bunch of benchmarking material from Sabre, are we not? From Palo.
Yeah, some. I don't think we asked all the right questions. And Ed, just so you know what we're talking about, is that Sabre gave a generous offer to HSMAI's Digital Council. Ask us the right questions, we'll give you the right answers with our data. And so I think we've asked some good questions, but I don't think we've asked all the best questions yet. So
no, and listen, I think if there's a couple different ways you can skin this cat. Because listen, there's a lot of times that I come across hotels that are trying their hardest and they're just getting snowed by their vendors.
Yeah.
I mean, how often does that happen where, I don't know, HSMAI seems like the type of organization that could at least share benchmarks of what you should be aiming for in these spends.
I'll make it
today. Then you're empowering the hotel to say, HSMAI says I should expect this. Why are you performing below it?
Right.
Yep.
I'll take y'all's help in any which way the KPI, because to your point, that is absolutely what I would hope come out of this, is that the follow-up to people doing this, playing with the calculator a little bit and so forth, and then getting the results, is to send then this information that says, hey, this is what we based this on, and this is what your expectations should be based on how you spend your monies in these different categories in general. And then these are some associated costs that necessarily aren't reflected in this calculator that are going to be assumed by you doing these things, so that there's that perspective of value in that too. So I'm all for it. I've got it to this point, and I'm like, I really want to make this thing where it's a value proposition for people using it and having HSMA have it to do something like that. Send the KPIs out would be an excellent suggestion to it. So any of those would be awesome. So I'll hit you guys up.
I don't know how you'd collect that data. I don't know where you would get that from. You may have to pull select a sampling of maybe a couple hundred hotels that represent a good mix of what did they experience in performance per spend on these items, and give them the math on how to do the performance per spend. Or you go the other way and you just go to the entire vendor world and say, what are you saying you'll do? And then look at it and look at the span, because vendors, at least ones that have been around for a long time, know not to say they're going to do more than they're actually going to do. So you actually get a pretty good baseline of probably from that end. So, I mean, and you may want to do it from both and then smooth it.
Well, to be honest with you, that's exactly what my personal still access to large data sources from a variety of nameless to be made data sources, and also hotel historicals and so forth that I still have amazing access to. That all of that is a little bit of both, and the agency side stuff, the agency account stuff that I've historically been working for, and what was the progress and the KPIs for each of them as well. That's where I came up with the numbers initially. But again, being my own stuff, I don't want to believe my own stink and be like, yeah, that must be the actual factual. It's like, no, that's based on the data sets I got. So I'd love to share with you guys where I saw those conversions and created them, and then what KPIs would be what we would share for each of the departments. I think a huge value for that. And since we have the new chairman of Digital Marketing Council, Miss Holly Zoba, with us.
Oh, really?
Congratulations.
I'm it. I was just going to say, Robert, are you going to Boca in a couple weeks for the retreat?
I am.
Lauren, you are?
Oh, yeah.
I think this should be an agenda item. I think I am going to suggest that we add it to the agenda to talk about what KPIs can be in support of
that'd be awesome.
This. I think we can come up with it.
Because I think that really helps close the loop for a lot of
I will
guys.
say I did just get the email that I wasn't chosen again. So I'm just saying. I'm serious. Like, when they did the call for who, like volunteer with HSMAI, I just got the email like
for the digital council or for the Americas board or what?
I don't know. Something with marketing. I don't know. I just said I'll help wherever you guys want. I got a thanks. No thanks.
I think we could change that real quick.
We don't want your the kind of help you're providing. Yeah, exactly.
I find
maybe
that
maybe
some of that,
is because we've spent too much in sponsorship of these boards meetings and stuff that they're like, crap. If Ed's here,
then he's not going to spend that money. No,
not going to buy our dinner anymore.
That's hilarious.
That is.
No,
that
it's
is,
actually it's ironic.
It is,
and it's actually ever since I've back when I was at Easy Yield, always the revenue management stuff and anything like that. I always got turned down.
You got really?
Yep.
I mean, they took Robert. I mean, you got to figure if they took Robert. Yeah.
Yes, chances are. I mean, listen, first of all, if you ever ask me the question if I've offended someone somewhere, the answer is always yes. I probably have offended everyone everywhere at some point.
That's right.
It's part of my charm.
What exactly did you do to Bob Gilbert?
Find out.
Was there a hostage?
I'm always so
situation with
nice to him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My director of sales
that.
is a pain in the butt to him, though.
Actually, I bet you're right. I bet you probably spend too much money.
It could be.
Yeah. Well,
good old Moneybags Ed. We don't want his help. We want his money.
We want his
exactly.
That's much more helpful.
No, it's not that. It's got to be some. They probably thought it was some different Ed. That's got to be it. It's got to be a different Ed. That's what they thought.
My son. They thought it was my son, the 2-year-old.
Yeah, it's got to.
We're totally gonna find out.
Yeah, we're definitely going to find out for that.
Want to come to Boca in 2 weeks?
Is it at Boca Resort?
Julie,
because I'll be there. I love that place. I love that place.
We have Boca Resort. I'm driving down next Wednesday. I'm actually driving in the middle of the storm rolling through, I guess.
What storm?
Can't I?
The local news station here actually reported that it was discombobulated. Do you know how excited they were to use the word discombobulated?
Discombobulated?
Yep.
That's
if you'd like. I
wouldn't even imagine a news agency using that word.
Yes.
Wow.
The drunken storm.
The drunken.
Maybe that's why I've been invited.
No, since we do that already. Again, I guess this is the time to say goodbye to all our friends and family. All right. So, again, Holly, I know we've asked you once. We did earlier in the show, but if people want to find you and talk with you, not only about Signature Worldwide, but for you for your professional comments or opinions, where can they reach you?
Holly Zoba at signatureworldwide.com.
And Mr. Robert Cole?
Robert at rockcheetah.com or Robert K. Cole on all social media, including Twitter.
And
we know.
Peters.com.
There, Ed, there are 1,400 people who follow that amazing bot news feed.
Listen, and I'm on that list.
It's astounding. It's astounding to me. Well, you can always just turn it off. Just don't follow.
One of the 1,400 people.
What?
I want to be one of the 1,400 people.
But the thing, I mean,
just be
okay,
YouTube.
I was just looking at my little Deliverate stats here. 1,700 posts. This isn't in 7 days, right? Almost 1,800 posts.
I believe it.
Over 7,200 clicks.
Yeah.
It's
all of
people,
them was to share forward, because that's all people do on Twitter is look for something that they can share forward.
They don't even read it. What was that stat? I think it was 67% of the people share a document without actually having read it themselves or something. It was some weird stat.
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it.
Where they just forward it. It's crazy stuff. Mr. Ed, if people want to reach out to you and talk to you about your words of wisdom, where can they find you?
Anywhere on timpeter.com. Actually, September 15th, I will be at HSMAI Arizona talking about storytelling and the power of storytelling. I will, on October 1st, be speaking at Chief in Puerto Rico on a panel about brand marketing and branding and all of that. You can find me and the stuff I love at flip.to. You can find me by name on any social network, including Twitter, which I don't share a lot there, so it's probably the best place to follow me. And you can find me weekly on this show.
That's very true. That's very true. Now,
pretty soon, that's the only thing anyone will say. They'll just go to Hospitality Digital Marketing.
Yeah, you guys are one of the talking heads.
Yeah, I told you when I went to the direct travel summit in Las Vegas 3 or 4 months, 5 months ago, something like that. Somebody walked to me, he's like, Lauren, no. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm terrible with names. You must know me from, yeah, I watch your show all the time. I'm like, so you know me because of the show. Rockstar. I was like, wow. Oh, by the way, are you going to do a Facebook live stream of your presentation in Phoenix?